Alright, so right now let's continue our work in Visual Studio Code. Now to open the repository in our cloned repository here in Visual Studio Code, we can simply go to Visual Studio Code and click on Open Folder, and we can go to the folder that we have just cloned, which in my case I put it in the Documents and GitHub folder, and click on my first website folder and select folder, and it should open right in. Now in your case, because I've already logged into my account, you might see a login message here on the bottom right corner with GitHub that requires you to sign in with GitHub. You can click on sign in, and it's going to take you to the GitHub web page, and you have to authorize Visual Studio Code to use your account, basically. Now this is the first message, but maybe it's a little bit a hassle on finding the folder that you have cloned your repository in and opening it with Visual Studio Code. So an easier way to open your repository is with the GitHub desktop, the tool that we have just installed to ease up our work. So in GitHub desktop, you can click on the current repository and select your repository that you're working on. In this case, it's my first website, and simply click on Open in Visual Studio Code. And it is that simple. It just opens Visual Studio Code with the repository files here on the left in the Explorer. Now let's go with and modify the README file that we have just created. Let's give it a heading 1, and let's call it this is a README file for now, and Control S to save the file. Now once we have saved the file, it's going to show up here in Visual Studio Code as M. M stands for modified, basically. So we have modified this file. If we create a new file, let's say .gitignore, it's going to show as U. U stands for untracked. So this one is untracked file. Now let's remove the license for now, or let's say, yes, let's remove this license and go back to the branch control. Now we have made a couple of changes here in the file explorer, and let's go back here to the sorry, not the branch control, but the source control. We can go to this one by hitting Ctrl Shift and G as well, but let's just click on that. We're going to see the license as D deleted, and we have created the .gitignore, which is untracked. It's a new file, and the readme.md, it's M for modified. Now let's say we change our mind and we don't want to delete the license anymore. We can click on this bent arrow that says discard changes. We click on that. We're going to restore this file. It's going to ask us if we're sure, and it has restored the license file right now here in the Explorer. Now let's say we want to commit those changes and upload them to GitHub. How do we do that? Now we go to the source control here, and we have as well to include our message or commit message. And let's say here that we have done an update, or we're actually created a gitignore file and modified readme.md. So let's go with updated readme.md and created.gitignore, and let's click on commit. Basically we have committed the changes locally, but it's not pushed yet. Now let's click on sync changes, and we're going to see an arrow with a 1 next to it. That means that we do have one change that is it's pending to be pushed. Now if we do have a down arrow near it, it means that some changes are on the repository and we're going to download the changes. In this case we're going to upload the changes or push the changes in this case. So let's go ahead and do just that. And if we go to GitHub, and refresh the page on our repository, we're going to see this one, the heading that I was talking about, the one that we have modified, and we're going to see the commit message here, which is updated readme.md and created git ignore, and the git ignore has the same message. Now let's go back to the Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to tell you a couple of things on how to increase your productivity in Markdown, Markdown language, and some extensions that you'll be able to use to help you out to make your work more productive.